What's up, guys? Neil Orfield here for Stochastic. I'm going to take a quick look at the new weekly winners contest. Just came out today. Underdog just came out, released the weekly winners contest today. I'm pretty excited, but it's a completely different format than anything that we have seen before. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. If you're not familiar, I'm going to go over the rules, the scoring structure, etc. But I think it's really cool. And by the way, if you have not yet signed up for Underdog, you can use the link in this description or use promo code Stochastic12. You can get your first deposit matched up to $100. So if you put $100 in, they're going to it's automatic. It's going to be $200 right away. They're going to put an extra $100 into your account. So it's kind of a no-brainer if you have not yet signed up for Underdog. And I think that this new weekly winners format might be just one more reason to check it out. I'm going to start by going over the format a little bit. Then I'm going to go over my initial thoughts, some strategy tips. It just came out today, so I'm new to this too. I'm probably going to be learning as I go, but I have some initial thoughts on how I want to attack this. So what this contest is, just like any other contest, you can enter 30-second draft or a slow draft, 8 hours per pick. But the big difference between weekly winners and regular best ball is they pay out every single week. So there is no like prize for the best team for the entire season. All of the prizes are each week. So each week somebody is going to win $20,000 for first place. Second place is going to be $10,000. Third place is going to be 9,000. This is, I think, the flattest payout structure I have ever seen, which for this format, I love this payout structure, the very flat payout structure. Obviously, you're unlikely to win first multiple weeks. It just unless you draft like the ultimate super team where every pick hits, you're probably not winning multiple weeks. But you want to try to take a shot at winning one of these weeks, and maybe you can get a first and a fourth and get 28,000 from one of your entries, something like that. But very cool to see the very flat payout structure here. The top 7,300 get paid out each week. So if you just get 7,300 within the top 7,300 twice, you're making money in this contest. This is $15 to enter. So if you get into the top 7,300 twice in the span of a 17-week season, you're going to be making money on your entry. But I think it's really unique in that you have prizes every single week. You don't have to worry about like who's going to be your best team long term. You don't have to worry about accumulating points throughout the season. You just need to hit on individual weeks. So I think it is very different from any other format that we've seen for best ball. And I'll talk about some strategies that I have. I'm also going to show you the first team that I drafted. I've just done one team so far, kind of testing my theories, kind of seeing how other people drafted, try to get an idea. And I think it's probably going to change throughout the summer how people are drafting because everybody is super new to this format. But in general, my approach going in is, first of all, I got to say, you want to plan ahead. So like you really want to know matchups throughout the season. You want to know which teams have easy matchups in which weeks, because I think that you want to really game stack more in this format than you do in regular season best ball. Now I know there are a lot of people who are very big on week 17 game stacking in regular best ball. I'm not totally sold on week 17 game stacking just because it's such a remote thing. Like I don't think that it's a huge priority for me. I care more about just making teams that are going to get to the finals. And obviously, once you're in the final, you're still competing against 500 or so teams. So you still need to have a team that can compete in the final. But given that you don't need all of your players to crush it in that week. You're choosing from 18 different players can potentially make it into your winning lineup for that week. And given that it's just so remote, we don't really know necessarily who's going to be the best matchups, who's going to be healthy 18 weeks into the season. It's not a huge concern for me. I'm more concerned about other factors just getting there in the first place. But this is different because you don't need to get there. Like your team is already going to be there every single week. So now I think I'm picking out individual weeks and I am game stacking those weeks. Like I want to have my quarterback with pass catchers. I mean, that's a given. That's how I play regular basketball also. But now I'm also picking out individual weeks where I want my quarterbacks to have a run back from the other side of the game, because now I'm really just trying to be optimal to win certain weeks of the season. I'm also knowing those matchups. So as I say, if I want to have my quarterback stacked with a pass catcher and then also a bring back, but I also want to have running backs who are in good matchups. I want to have my tight ends if they're not correlated with my quarterback and any pass catchers who are not correlated with my quarterback. I want them to be in good matchups as well. I want my teams to be really centered around certain weeks. So that is generally going to be my approach here, is I'm trying to figure out certain weeks that I want to win and just try to win those weeks. Now in the regular season, I am what many would call a bye week bro. I'm trying to have different bye weeks. So like if I'm drafting two quarterbacks, I don't want to have two quarterbacks that both have week 13 bye, because then you're guaranteed to have a zero from your quarterback spot in week 13. If I'm drafting two quarterbacks, I'd rather have quarterbacks with different bye weeks. And it's similar, in other running back, wide receiver. I also prefer to have offsetting bye weeks as a tiebreaker for every position. This is different because you're only trying to win certain weeks. It's totally viable to just throw away week 13 or week 7 or whichever week you want to throw away. Just draft all players who have the same bye week. Now, to me, that's not my top consideration. Like, it's something that it's a plus, I guess, if you throw away just like one bye week, have everybody, but like that is not going to be like the biggest factor for me in drafting my teams. But it is a slight positive rather than a slight negative to have the same bye weeks from players on your team. Another difference is I think it's okay to just take one quarterback, just take one tight end. It might even be okay to just take two running backs, or just take four maybe three running backs or four wide receivers. Like, it's more okay to take the minimum at positions because you're just trying to win individual weeks. It's okay if they miss some time. You just want to take the running backs who are going to be good on those weeks that you're trying to win. I'm probably not still just taking two running backs. You still have 18 spots to pick, so like you don't really need to go that extreme, but I think that you can go a little bit more extreme with your teams. I think it's okay to take just one quarterback, just take one tight end if it is an elite tight end that you really believe in. Like somebody, like if you take Travis Kelsey, I think it's fine to just give up that week 10. I believe it's a week 10 bye for Kansas City, and just have Travis Kelsey as your tight end every week. I'm not saying that that's necessarily something that you need to do. If you see another tight end that comes up that's great value, great. Or if you see another quarterback, whatever. But for me, I think it's okay to take fewer at the position as long as you can still fill. It's the same format where you need one quarterback, two running backs, three wide receivers, one tight end, and one flex. So you just need to be able to fill those positions on the weeks that you are focusing on. But I think it's okay to focus more on certain positions at the expense of others. I also don't care quite as much about things like injury concerns. So, for example, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and these are actually all examples from the team that I drafted. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Javonte Williams. You might have concerns about, are they going to miss time? Well, if I'm focusing on a Charger stack early in the season, I probably don't care as much about injury concerns with guys like Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. I might be willing to draft them a little bit earlier because I just need them to be healthy for the individual weeks that I'm focusing on. Similar Javonte Williams, like if you're focusing on, if you think that he's going to be a little bit, limping into the season and he's going to get better as the season progresses, and you're focusing on later weeks in the season, that's totally fine. Like, I don't care how he is early in the season. I'm just trying to win one individual week. That's really my biggest goal here in each lineup that I draft. Is I want to win one week. I'm focusing on who has the best matchups in those weeks. Who can I correlate within those weeks? And similarly, like Jameson Williams for Detroit, he's going to be suspended, I believe, the first 6 games of the year. So you just factor that in. You throw him out for those 6 games. Am I trying to win a week after week 6? Then it's okay to draft Jameson Williams when he is going to be available. So those are some of my general thoughts here. And now I'll show you the one lineup that I have drafted already in this contest to kind of show you how I put it into practice. And I don't know that I even love the lineup that I built, but I can show you kind of what my thought process was. So the very first lineup that I built here, I got Christian McCaffrey first with the 6th pick. He wasn't my hope was that Travis Kelce was going to fall to me, but he didn't end up getting Christian McCaffrey. So the first thing that I did is I looked at, when does Christian McCaffrey have good matchups? Which week should I try to focus on winning? And maybe it's not your first pick where you need to do that, but I do think with your first pick, you still probably want to take a first round player. You want to have a stud in with your first pick who's going to put up a big score. I wouldn't think so much about correlation that I'm like taking, somebody who has an ADP, Debo Samuel with my first overall pick. Like, you can still take a stud if you want to stack the Niners. You can still get Debo Samuel closer to ADP. So I'm still trying to take a stud with my first pick. They're going to be helpful throughout the year. But so I took Christian McCaffrey. Now, whatever you want to use for looking at who has good matchups, that's up to you. I looked at this graph here on Fantasy Pros. This looks like a good enough draft for kind of getting an easy look at who has good matchups when. So I looked at Chris McCaffrey right away. I see he has a good matchup week 4 with Arizona. It's probably his best matchup. I could have gone to week 10, whatever, but I just decided right away, okay, looking at week 4, I know that's a good matchup for Christian McCaffrey. Who could I possibly stack up in week 4? And then, of course, I looked at quarterbacks, who has good matchups in week 4. Right away, I saw Justin Herbert has an elite matchup with Las Vegas in week 4. So I was kind of already thinking, after my Christian McCaffrey pick, okay, what can I set up to get to a Justin Herbert stack here? Now, with my second pick, I actually went down and got Devontae Smith, which actually did not line up well. I was kind of working on the fly here. This is my first time doing this. I had not looked very closely at the regular season. Devontae Smith at pick 19 looked okay to me. I think, sort of at that point still hoping that maybe Jalen Hurts would fall back to me, to be honest. So I was hoping Jalen Hurts would come back. He didn't. So I've got an elite wide receiver there. Not the end of the world that I got there, but I don't think it was probably the best pick for me there with Devontae Smith. But after that, so I looked at when Christian McCaffrey again had those great matchups, and I thought, okay, Justin Herbert looks like he's got a great matchup in week 4 was my initial thought. But then I thought, well, I also need another running back who's going to be in a good spot in week 4. And I saw Josh Jacobs there going up against the Chargers too. So that looked like a good spot for me. I thought Josh Jacobs, elite matchup with the Chargers. Also, I'm already thinking I'm going to target Justin Herbert. So that seems like a good spot to go. So I took Josh Jacobs with my with pick 30th overall. And then after that, I started building that correlation and went and got my Mike Williams with pick 43. After Mike Williams, Justin Herbert was my next pick. So then I had my stack locked in. And for me, I think I'm generally just going to do one quarterback. You certainly could do two quarterbacks and within each team try to win, 4 or 5 weeks. I think in general, my approach is going to be focusing on 2 to 3 weeks. So I'm just going to take one quarterback, hopefully an elite quarterback. Maybe if it's not an elite quarterback, I might take a different approach. But if I can get a very good, kind of top end quarterback, I think I'm just going to take that quarterback and try to figure out when they have weeks that I think I can win with this quarterback. So for me, I looked at Justin Herbert after I got him, and I see Justin Herbert. And of course, as we go on, we're going to get better at identifying ahead of time when we're quarterbacks going to have good matchups. But I had this week 4 already. Obviously, we talked about I'm trying to stack up week 4. I'm trying to win week 4, so I'm taking players in good matchups, and I also then of course want the run backs. And then I saw week 7 against Kansas City, and I think that my next pick maybe could have moved. I actually think Kadarius Toney went before my next pick, but I decided after getting Justin Herbert, I'm just going to focus on weeks 4 and 7. I think you could probably focus on 3 weeks. But for me in this one, I just decided to go to those particular weeks. If I win any week other than week 4 or week 7, I got very lucky because I really just build my whole lineup around I want to win weeks 4 and week 7. So after I got Justin Herbert, went out and got another correlated piece with Quentin Johnson, another Chargers receiver. Who, so now if either of these receivers, if this stack goes off in either week 4 or 7, or any week really, I guess I'm going to have a good shot there. But week 4 now, I've got 2 elite running backs in Christian McCaffrey and Josh Jacobs. I've got an elite stack in Justin Herbert with Mike Williams and Quentin Johnson. So you can see what I'm trying to do here. So I'm trying to build out. So that was built out week 4. And then I also thought, well, I also want to build out week 7. So now I've got Justin Herbert's matchups there. So we've got week 4 against Las Vegas, week 7 against Kansas City. So I don't know if Kadarius Toney, I think Kadarius Toney had actually been taken before the Quentin Johnson pick. I was, as I said, kind of flying by the seat of my pants. Maybe I would have gone Kadarius Toney there if he was available, but I don't think he was because we do have that Kansas City game in week 7 for the bring back. So as I said, I'm trying to build in stat correlations. I'm also trying to build in game correlations. So for me, I just did weeks 4 and week 7. I already said Christian McCaffrey, Josh Jacobs had elite matchups in week 4. Jerick McKinnon was a bring back, also had an elite matchup in week 7 against the Chargers. Javonte Williams had an elite matchup in week 7. Generally, that was my biggest concern, just focusing on those 2 weeks. I want to stack up the best available players in those weeks. And you can see most of my picks had some kind of correlation related to it. Quentin Johnson, obviously, on the Chargers. One of those weeks they're playing the Chiefs. The other week they're playing Las Vegas. Jonathan Mingo, there was just nothing I really liked around where he was being drafted around this pick 150. So he was kind of an outlier. No real correlation there. Just hoping for a home run. Obviously, Hunter Renfrow on a bring back in week 7 or week 4. And Jalen Guyton also correlated to my quarterback. And then also just the tight ends here. Ended up drafting 4. Buffalo just had good matchups in the weeks that I was looking at. Again, looking at this chart, I looked at in week 4. Buffalo had an ideal matchup with the Miami defense. They also have a good matchup with New England in week 7. So I took both of the Buffalo tight ends there and then just kind of filled out, better play. I think Hayden Hurst had a good matchup in one of those. I kind of and then I've got obviously Gerald Everett correlated with Justin Herbert. So that was my first attempt. I think I just focused on those 2 weeks. I think you could probably build lineups that have a real shot with great correlation in up to like maybe 3 weeks. It'd be tough to do much more than that. But that was my approach in my first week. Just trying to correlate, just trying to focus on certain weeks that I win. I think I like the way my lineup turned out. Again, I'm new to this. We're all new to this. We're learning as we go. I think right now is the time to jump into some drafts while people aren't really sure what they're doing. So check it out. If you're not yet checked out Underdog, you can use the link in the description. And of course, if you haven't liked the video, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification button so you can get alerts when our shows go live. Thanks a lot, guys, and good luck this season.